Welcome to Visionary Doc, where ambition meets purpose and self-discovery fuels transformation. Are you chasing success but feeling unfulfilled? Delve into the joys and jolts of high-achieving lives, and together, let's redefine ambition. It's time to strip away the pathological and embrace the potential. Join host Dr. Shez as we explore what it means to be a visionary of your own life.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining, Dr. Ullman.
Thank you for having me. I'm really appreciative of the opportunity. Thanks.
Yeah, of course, man. So where are you in your journey with ophthalmology?
So I am a cornea specialist practicing in Pensacola, Florida. I am 4 years out from my fellowship, so new ophthalmologist. I'm actually practicing with my dad. He's an ophthalmologist and cornea specialist, and
Oh,
it's kind of the reason I got into everything. And one of those typical second generation ophthalmologists, I guess. Yeah.
typical
So
second gen. I
I
talk
well, I mean,
about
I
first generation, but
well, I mean, I feel like I don't know, like I listened to your first podcast series, and you have such a cool story, kind of how you ended up here. I have like the stereotypical, most boring. I remember interviewing for programs, and it was like, yeah, I know this is really boring, guys. Like ophthalmology, I'm here. Yeah, that's all I got for you. I got good test scores and a boring story. That's pretty much it. But yeah, so I'm
that's funny,
that's
man.
me. Yeah,
Well, I
yeah.
appreciate you saying that. I mean, I don't know. We all have a story, right? We all have a story. I mean, mine just
Yeah,
happens a little bit more like chaotic than
yeah, a little more
usual.
interesting. In the interview, I remember being very blunt about it. I am now. Like, hey, my dad loved this. He rubbed off on me. He's probably my greatest kind of, inspiration. And I want to do it. He loved it and really exposed it to me early. And it's a great profession. And I usually got positive feedback because I feel like a lot of people, there's a kind of embarrassment. You don't have an identity, or you don't, it's just not as impressive as someone like yourself who kind of just did it on their own. But I think by not kind of hiding that and just being upfront about it, people appreciate it. And yeah,
100%.
yeah,
100%. It takes a different level of confidence and being secure in who you are to accept that. To be like, hey, look, here's
yeah.
my story. You skipped all the like the trauma and all that, like all the BS, you just like kind of like have this,
Much easier.
yeah, well, you know, because I don't know, I just feel like I have spent like so much of my early life just kind of like figuring out all that stuff about me, right? Like
Hmm.
being the first in my family to kind of go on this path, it's all like new territory. So I'm trying to like figure out, what it means to be a doctor. And you
Right,
know, I come from a family that like is all about like, oh, screw those doctors, like they're all they care about is money and all this
right.
stuff. We're not going to go to doctors. Well, now I'm one of them. So like how do I
Well,
how do I,
yeah, I
it's
always,
weird cognitive
yeah,
dissonance.
yeah, I always admire people who kind of came from kind of at the same, I would see some people in ophthalmology, their personal experience in it, and just, they like the physiology of the eye, they like cataract surgery, and they'd say things like, oh, I like it because it's a good lifestyle, or it's a good, they'd say, and it's like, I don't know if you really know what you're signing up for. I mean, long,
Exactly.
repetitive, high stress. I mean, even cataract surgery, the expectations are high. There's a weird kind of stress to that. I just don't think lifestyle is quite as good as some people perceive it to be. And I think people that are like second generation kind of know signing up for, I'm on call all the time. It's not quite as cushy as I feel like some
Yeah,
people think.
100%, dude. And that's a really good point. Like I had no clue. I mean, when I was, sitting there interviewing for medical school and residency, I had no clue what I was signing up for, right?
Mhm.
I just thought like doctors have this like chill lifestyle and like, the system will teach you how to manage the stress that comes with a doctor, I thought. But the system doesn't.
No.
And that's why we have, burnout rates
Yeah.
going through the roof.
Yeah.
And a huge mental health crisis in medicine.
Yeah.
And I hate to even say the word, but like suicide, man, like physician suicide. I mean, it is the most depressing thing in the world, right? To
Yeah,
think about all of these beautiful people with so much potential who got into it to help others, and the system failed them and didn't
yeah,
help them.
yeah.
So,
It's awful. You're right. Yeah,
yeah, and it's something we got to bring awareness to. I don't know. I just feel compelled to do that. Especially like I never thought it would. I mean, it would be as high as it is in ophthalmology. I mean, I think the statistics were like 39%, like more than a third of ophthalmologists report symptoms of burnout. So it's a pretty big deal. So yeah, people don't get it. That it's not as cush and glamorous as like Grey's Anatomy depicts it to
Mm,
be, you know?
it's not. I don't know. I don't put it better than you
You're
just
not
did,
having
but
sexy closets, you know?
yeah, no, no, definitely not. Um, definitely not. But no, it's tough, you know.
Shit, if
But
I ever go in the
anyway,
broom closet, it's to hide from my attendings. It's not to have sex.
no, it's ditto. I don't know what to tell you. There's no, it's yeah, it's not uh that compelling as far as when your average patient's 72, and I feel like you're talking about you, but I every day I'm getting told I'm too young to do you know what I mean? It's like I don't know, it's an interesting social experiment to just be basically taking care of geriatric patients all day, and you're a young doctor, and it's yeah, the most interesting conversation I have is usually about like some football game that I don't follow, and you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's yeah, so
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I'm in the South too, so there's a lot of conversations I typically try to steer clear from, or like politics and like just weird discussions with 70-year-old patients. It's
yeah.
yeah, exactly.
I don't know what it is, man. I think I have a problem, but I love getting into those conversations with my patients. Like, so, Trump or Harris? What are you thinking? I
You're
don't know.
braver than me, man. You're
I will
braver than
just
me.
point blank jump in those because I'm so curious, right? Like I'm curious why people think the way they do and why people want to vote the way they do. And it's coming from a place of genuine curiosity, like it really is, because I really think at the end of the day, like I don't know, man. I'm a glass half full kind of guy. I believe in people. I'm an optimist. I don't think people are just like inherently evil.
Mm,
I guess maybe there are some, but most people want the same things that I do: safety and security and a good job and all of those things, right? Love and
mm,
connection, and they want to feel like they belong because we're humans first. And so then what happens during the course of your upbringing and entering into adulthood? What happens that gets you to kind of, I don't know, steer away from that way of thinking about, hey, we're all in this thing together. We're humans first. We're not Democrats. We're not Republicans, white, black, yellow,
mm.
like we're human beings first, right? So what happened? And I want to know, like, why do you pick a certain candidate? Like, do you feel like your values are represented in that candidate, right? What are your values? And
Yeah,
why are they your values? I don't know. I'm just very curious like that. And when I present it that way to some patients, like you'd be surprised, some patients will engage and talk about these
yeah,
really difficult things
yeah.
that usually derails my clinic appointment. I'm there for like,
I imagine. I
30,
can't. Yeah, me, it's
I'm there for
like
like 30 minutes, and then my scribes are pissed off. They're like, Dr. Shez, we gotta move on. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. What do you think about what's going on with, the
with
election? Start there, bro. Let's go
I
deep.
know. Honestly, I don't. Who's gonna happen? This could be great. Could be terrible. No one knows.
Yeah.
I feel like I was one of the few people in my community where it's like I just don't feel that strongly that I don't know. I don't have the cop out and an answer or whatever. But I didn't feel that strong. I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like we've been through Trump before. We'll survive. We've been through, Biden and Harris. It's going to be another 4 years of what we've already gone through.
Yeah. Right. It'll
Not
be
a
exactly.
groundbreaking, shattering thing.
I mean, dude, I'm telling you, there are people that are like, I mean, crying and just, terrified and like the world is ending. I'm just like, my goodness, like,
Yeah, I'm worried about putting my kids to sleep, you know, for dinner. I don't really think, you know, passionately about this stuff. I feel like, I don't know, it's gonna happen. We'll survive. We're resilient people. I don't
yes,
know.
I
Yeah,
agree. I agree.
yeah,
I mean, the reality is this, like life is probably not going to change drastically for people like you and I who have a good job and stable jobs and stable income and things like that, realistically speaking. Now, from a social standpoint, I don't know. I might be in India this time next year if he decides to kick us all out. I don't know.
yeah.
But
The one thing that was was a few things that was, but I was in DC training during his first administration, that travel and Muslim ban thing, and I did have some friends that were co-interns of mine that got basically stuck in their country
no
because
way.
they would like go on a vacation or something and then they couldn't come back. And it all got resolved in the end, but I mean, that was pretty profoundly crappy, you know? But other than like that, none of the policies like really like were profoundly different. Tax were a little different, I guess, but that was the only where I was like, "Whoa, this is weird."
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Mm.
I hate to, I know you, and something I admire about you and your previous shows is you are unafraid of talking about like really sensitive topics. I am not as brave.
Like what? Like what?
Like politics and all that stuff, and even like mental health stuff, and like it's just some of those topics, it's like you say the wrong thing and people can really get the wrong idea and latch, even if you say something like, I honestly think there's really, I sound, God, I'm gonna like sound like Trump, but there's good people on both sides, whatever. But really, there's like honestly amazing people that unfortunately right now are on the opposite ends of the political spectrum.
Yeah. 100%.
And if you just say the wrong thing, people can just get the wrong idea and just think you're a bad person. And it's like, so the game optimal, whatever game theory optimal thing is just to like not talk about it and just, you know what I mean?
Exactly. But that's what I have a problem with. It's like, if we're not going to talk about the hard things, what are we going to talk about? Like,
The easy
how do,
stuff.
yeah, like like your favorite color? What are you going to talk about? I mean, it's crazy to me, right? If we're serious about solving the hard problems, we have
Yeah.
to talk about the hard problems.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and and how do you talk about hard things if not from a place of like curiosity and understanding? Like if I come to a conversation and I have it in my head that I'm right and you're wrong, and I'm gonna judge the whole conversation, we're not gonna get anywhere, right? But I don't know. To me, it seems common sense. It seems like common sense and very intuitive that most people want the same things as everybody else, right? Fundamentally speaking, from a humanity standpoint. So
Yeah.
let's approach from that standpoint, and then let's try to understand the other person's perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
don't do that, man. We just, in this day and age,
Yeah.
it's I'm right, you're wrong. Let me show you how wrong you really are. Um, right?
Yeah, no,
Pretty
you're right. You're
frustrating.
right. It's sad, and I feel like, yeah, I don't know if there's a good solution to it. I personally just try to like focus on my, that think local, act, or is it act local, think global, whatever. I try to just focus on what I can control and kind of do fun things and, you know, make cool stuff and take care of my patients and go from
Totally.
there. And it's like this other stuff, we'll see how it plays out, but,
Look,
um,
end of the day, we all have a gift, and I think we're all trying to reach a point of peace and joy, right? Inner peace, outer peace, joy, and fulfillment in life. And we each can do it in our own way. And so for you, if it's, if you're increasing joy just a little bit in the world by taking good care of people and making people feel good about their vision, right? If people feel good about who they are after they're done interacting with you, I think you've done your part, right?
yeah, No,
Then
definitely.
it doesn't have to be in the context of politics or anything like that. Whatever you can do to add joy to the world, that's
Yeah.
what it comes down to, right?
Yeah. No,
Uh,
no, you're right. I feel like ophthalmology, we take it for granted. I mean, every week,
oh my gosh.
people are thrilled, and that's I feel like the best part of ophthalmology is the people, and the worst part is also the people. It's like
Just like
it's
anything else, I
fine.
think it
Yeah,
comes
yeah,
down to the people, you're right? It comes down to the
yeah,
people.
yeah.
Sometimes it comes
Yeah.
down to like us, our
Yeah.
perspective and attitude to what we bring, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
To whatever it is that we're doing. But yeah, dude, I can't imagine being in any other field. I residency was really hard for me, and I almost like quit and went into
Mm,
emergency medicine, and I mean I was very lost in residency, not just because the system and residency is hard and all of that, but all the personal baggage and the narrative that I had brought into residency, right? The tape that was playing in my head was that I don't belong here. No one in my family is a doctor. What am I
mm,
doing? Who do I think I am? Like, what makes me think I can be a
mm,
doctor? Like
mm,
all of those, things that are not
mm,
certain. That's the narrative that was going on in my head. And so when that's
mm,
happening, it's really hard on top of like just how hard residency is in general. It's just really hard to thrive. So the first period of my residency was really hard for me. But I'm so glad I didn't quit. So glad.
mm,
'Cause I
mm,
cannot imagine myself doing anything else. I mean, when those patients come to you with hand motion cataracts, they can't even see a hand in front of their face,
mm.
and you are able to get them to 2020, and they can enjoy just the beauty of this world. Like I don't know, it sounds cheesy and cringe, but like
No, it's
I've
awesome.
seen it. I've seen it. I mean, patients
Yeah.
have tears in their eyes, and they're so
Yeah.
right? To be
Yep.
able to do that for somebody is really a privilege, you know?
No, no, you're right. And I think I don't know, I feel like with time, with repetition too, you can kind of reach a mastery, not a mastery, but you can really just
The
get
core
good. Yeah, there's something to it where I feel like some of these specialties that aren't quite as they're maybe a little more broad, you never really get really good. Whereas with ophthalmology, I feel like every step of a procedure you can really just
yes,
hone in and practice and just get, it's really an art. And I don't know, it's fun to be able to just get really good at each step, and you can always try to push yourself to get a little better, and I feel like that's really rewarding. And I mean, I'm, as you know, kind of big in with computers, and one of the big things they say is like, I think it's like fail fast and fail often. That's like one of these big startup terms or whatever. To me, that's one of the things I love about experimenting with computers is you can do that. You have the luxury to just
yeah,
do weird stuff and experiment and iterate. But ophthalmology, and I think medicine in general, like the stakes are too high, you know? So
yeah,
you can't just trash 100 eyeballs to figure out some cool trick, you know what I mean? But you can't do that. You're going to go to jail and you're a horrible human being, right? So instead, you have to really, study, know what you're doing, minimize chance of failure, and like seek incremental small improvements, right?
yes.
But my personality, I don't know, I kind of like both styles of learning, but there's something really rewarding with just kind of barely getting a little better, a little better, a little better, and then suddenly like you feel good, you know. So there's a lot to like with ophthalmology. There really is. But so like my projects, I don't know if you've got a chance to look at all the, app projects and stuff I've done, but all the editing, all the Photoshop and social media and everything is just 100% me. So I mean, I lean heavy on like AI, but
Yeah,
I haven't invested in like an actual assistant or anything yet. But I don't
not.
know.
Why
Like
not?
why not? I guess I'm
Yeah,
really cheap or something. I don't know. It's to me it's kind of fun, It's like I don't know so I like just as a brief history, I got into like computer stuff when in like high school. I was building websites. I did like a website for a hotel, and like so I was always doing like a little bit of computer stuff. And then
Yeah.
in medical school, I did like a calculator to calculate like the risk for ocular melanomas and
Yeah.
stuff with that. And then eventually I did this iPhone app to image the retina. And
How
for
did you get
that,
involved? How did you get involved in all that? Like, what made you want to get started with that?
I just like computers. I always liked technology, and like as a high school kid, I liked Photoshop, and it just kind of one thing led to the other, and I was like, hey, I could like make a couple $100 if I did a poster. Like one of my biggest jobs in high school was making a poster for a Vietnamese movie studio in California, like just random stuff. And then each step of the way, like, and for even like to try to get into medical school, like I told you, I had a very boring story. I didn't, my dad's a doctor, he likes it, I like it. That doesn't really go very far. So I would always just try to incorporate my interests, mainly computers, to just do something kind of that would stand out, right? So like I did a website to like find volunteer opportunities in Gainesville, or like I did a website to like for residency to like I said, to stratify the risk for ocular melanoma. Like so I would just try to incorporate my natural interests to like what I was trying to get into as a way to just enjoy myself and stand out a little bit. And like in I had all these ideas for apps, and actually when I was interviewing at different residency programs, that's one of the reasons I went to Georgetown. I interviewed there and they were like, look, whatever you can think of, we can help figure out how to make it a reality. And one of the things I was thinking of at the time was an app specifically to image the retina. Like,
Mm.
because I don't know if I'm sure you've seen people, I don't know if you've done it, but you can use your phone, you hold it
Yeah, yeah.
out, use a 20 diopter lens, but there was no app specifically to do that. And actually, with their help and with a grant, I actually hired someone to make it. And
Wow.
yeah, it was pretty cool. I had it for free for like 3 years, and it had thousands of people who were using it. Some people like published papers about it, which was really cool to see it like on
What app is
PubMed.
that?
It's called the Ullman Indirect. It's very simple.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
All
yeah, yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
super
I've used
simple.
it. I've
It's
used it,
just
dude.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Thank you. It's very simple. All you basically have is like a way to control the torch for like basically like a rheostat, and a
Hmm.
way to like control the focus, and it just made it a little bit easier. You don't need it. You can just use a native camera
Yeah.
app, but it just made smartphone fundoscopy a touch easier. And really I kind of put the app stuff to the side until this AI boom. And like with AI now, I didn't even need to hire anybody. I just did it all myself. And I created it's called the My Callback app.
I saw that. Yeah.
And yeah, it's a 5,000 different ophthalmology tools. The thing I'm most proud about is like the eye chart, because it actually measures the distance you're holding the phone with a true depth camera, and it calibrates the chart based on where you're holding it. And you'd be surprised, like you think you're checking someone's near vision, and you think they're 20/20, but they're probably really like 20/40. You're probably not holding it at the right spot, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And what's cool is if you like move it further out, it'll switch to an intermediate chart. So like if you're doing like an extended depth of focus or multifocal lens, you can basically just have them read your phone, move the phone out, and you can measure at different distances.
Dude,
And
that's
yeah, it's
insane. So I could probably use that like in my post-op clinic. So I do a lot of multifocals and
Oh, if you do a lot of multifocals, I think it's like by far and away the most accurate way to actually check. And it has like every optotype. So like if you're dealing with kids, or if you're dealing with someone who maybe doesn't speak English and you want to do numbers or tumbling E or something like that. And within that app, like that's where it started. But I kept talking to different ophthalmologists, different doctors, and they kept having different ideas, right? And it really it's kind of been a fun thing for me to test like the new AI models and see like how far I can push it. Um, because like, I'll get an ophthalmologist will say, "Oh, why don't you like include this calculator or like this tool?" And now it's grown to be an app that has like so much stuff, right? Like
yeah.
even like the OKN drum it has, you can like adjust the stripes, or you have cartoons, or it includes like the Ullman indirect. It includes a slit lamp photography. Like if you can think of it for the ophthalmology and an app, it like includes it. You know what I mean? Because whenever I get a doctor that says, "Oh, what do you think about this?" I just spend the weekend and try to put it in there, you know?
That's,
So,
dude,
um,
that's
the
amazing.
one thing, thank you. It's been a really fun hobby. It does drive my wife crazy, you know? But I feel like the one bummer is I don't have an Android version. So
Mhm.
people with an Android phone are always messaging me like, "Hey, what's," and I don't have an Android, so
Would
that's
it
why I don't do it.
would you have to hire somebody to build that?
No, I've built Android apps before, and like I have a few Android apps on the App Store, but it wouldn't be good quality because like I would have to have, first off, like I know Android people are gonna hate me for this, but it is 1,000 times harder to make a quality app on that platform. It just is like there's so many devices, the ability to like gear an app towards every device is impossible. So like I have two apps on the App Store for Android, and like I would say 95% of the emails I get with problems are those two apps because it's these people with a weird phone or a weird model. So
Yeah.
technically, it's much more difficult. And also, it doesn't really do it for me. Like, I love making a tool. And then the next day, when I'm on call in a hospital and I'm checking someone's vision, I like to use the tool, right? And like for
Yeah.
that, it would purely be just like a business thing, I guess. And it just doesn't, it's not really the point. But like my app, like for instance, I don't know about you, but like in residency, you'd go there, some guy would have an orbital fracture and there's blood all over the place or something. They have lid lack or something, and you're testing their vision and you're giving them reading glasses to read the chart, and you're getting the reading glasses gross. And so I was thinking, is there a better way to do this, right? So now, like with my app, one of the things that I'd incorporated is distance vision testing. And you can
Mm,
literally put your phone up to their face, right? Not touch their face, but close to their face. Hit measure distance, and then you slowly move the camera or the phone away, and it will track how far away your phone is. And you can test someone's vision at like a 10-foot distance, an 8-foot distance, however big the room is. And that way you're not kind of getting blood all over your stuff. You're not worried about, did I bring my reading glasses? Oh, I can't find my
yeah.
reading glasses in my bag. And like to kind of think of things and implement them and then use them is what really is fun for me. And because I don't use an Android device, it's like I would never even test it or use it, or you know what I mean? But eventually if the demand gets to a kind of critical mass, I'll do it, but it would take a lot of time and effort. Like right
Mm,
now, my big project is I had a people like a lot of occupational health physicians who check vision, but they want like a iPad, you know what I mean? Like a stick it on my wall type thing. Or so I'm working on an iPad version. It's out now, but the big thing I'm doing is having the iPhone work as a remote. So you can like bust
oh,
out your phone and control the iPad with your phone. And
mhm.
these systems are like $700. Some of these are like $400 a year. And this would be like a $30 one-time thing, and it
Mm,
would make it totally more accessible. So, like, if you're a doctor who doesn't have a room dedicated to checking vision, but you have an iPad, you just put your iPad across the room, test their vision, like for a minute clinic or a clinic like a charity clinic or something like that, where they can't afford the fancy stuff. It would be a fun thing for them, I think. But
dude, that'll be huge, man. I think that's gonna.
oh, thanks.
It's so interesting. I also have a tech background. But it's more hardware related.
I saw the
Yeah,
IER, or what do you call
yeah,
iPhone IR?
smartphone ER. Yeah, I started
Smartphone
fixing
ER.
phones. I started fixing phones as a hobby. I grew up undocumented, and when you don't have papers, you got to get creative to make something.
Sure.
So
Sure.
for me, it was like I bought an iPhone, cracked the screen on it, and kind of figured out how to offer that service in East Texas. No one was really doing it at that time. I think I was like 17 years old, and so it just turned into a business, and that was kind of like my, throw myself into the world of business.
Sure.
Not necessarily out of like desire, but more out of necessity.
Sure.
But it was a huge learning experience. I mean, I learned so much, dude. I'm telling you, I was
Mm.
like, I say like I used to say back then, like, oh yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. I was the worst entrepreneur, the worst business person, dude.
Well, the
I
business
I
stuff.
didn't I didn't even have a fridge in the break room. Like there was no break room. There was no break room for employees. Like you want to eat, stand in the corner and eat, and then get back to work. I mean, it was insane, dude. I probably
Yeah.
violated all kinds of, employee
Yeah.
laws. I had no
Well,
idea what I was doing. It was all
yeah.
just about like making money and
Right. Right.
I
Right.
talk a lot
Right.
about pathological ambition when you're so
Right.
driven and you just kind of like, you're obsessed with achievement. That showed up in
Mhm.
how I operated my business, right? And then of
Mm,
course,
mm.
you don't treat people right, they'll leave. And
Right.
one
Right.
of my best employees, one of my best technicians, left. He was like, dude, this is a sweatshop.
Yeah.
Getting the hell out of here. And that really what taught me
Yeah.
to focus more on the people, right? Like it's all
Right.
about
Right. Yeah. The business part of my app stuff, it's actually probably the hardest part. People are always impressed by like the features of things, like the true depth camera where it can measure the viewing distance and calibrate itself and and it just looks very slick. But the hardest part, I think, by far is actually the business stuff. Like, how do you get the word out without coming off like you're some sort of spammer, right? And people think you're making $1 million off this, so they want, oh yeah, you can advertise on our website, but it's going to cost you some crazy amount of money. So just getting the word out has been the biggest struggle for me. So that's why I'm really grateful people like you allow me to talk about it. But yeah, I feel like even if you have the world's best service, the world's best product, if you don't know how to kind of get the word out, no one's going to know. No one's going to even use it. So it's been an education for me, the business side of things for sure. But no, the AI revolution is here. When people say, "Oh, this could be like a flash in the pan or a bubble or something," it's already unbelievably good. Unbelievably helpful for programming, for editing, I mean, it's the real deal.
Yeah. Do you know like where I would go? Like if I'm trying to build this AI thing,
Yeah,
and I'm trying to build something that is basically an avatar of myself for
yeah,
myself. So like think of it like an executive coach, but in
sure, sure,
ChatGPT form, right?
sure. Yeah, you could do that right now.
Where would I go to build something like that out? Do I need to
So
hire somebody?
no, definitely not. I don't know. Have you ever seen the custom GPT thing? Have you seen that in
Yeah,
ChatGPT?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, that's where I would go first, is I would just create a chat GPT, custom chat GPT, and literally you say exactly what you're saying to me. I want to make an avatar, I want it to be myself, blah, blah, blah. And just upload a bunch of PDFs of like, I saw you gave a TED talk recently. I would just upload transcripts of your TED talk, transcripts of your podcast, upload just as much information you feel comfortable giving OpenAI.
Yeah.
And then you could have it up and running in 10 minutes. The custom
Interesting.
GPTs are insanely good. I think people get confused using the custom chat GPTs because they search for them, right? They say, "Oh, I'm
Yeah.
going to search for one, then I'll search for a life coach custom chat GPT or something like that." That's not really where it shines. It shines when you make your own, right? You
Yes.
just,
Yes. Have you
which
done
people,
that? Have you
oh,
done that?
I have a ton of custom chat GPTs.
Like
'Cause
what?
it
Like what are the
literally
different
takes
ones?
the one I like the most is, like, I have a dictation one, so, I don't obviously put any HIPAA stuff in there, but I
Yeah.
have one that basically just acts as a medical transcriptionist for me,
Oh,
and,
interesting.
like, I uploaded, certain PDFs of ophthalmology resources that I use a lot, and it can reference those PDFs, right? So it can
Mm.
dictate for me, and then I can say, "Okay, you know what? Check your PDF references, give me the differential for optic nerve head edema, and it'll just spit out a beautiful differential from resources that I know, that I trust. Yeah.
So
So
I use it all the time. Like
mm,
if I see a patient that's like really difficult and I don't know really what's going on,
yeah,
I'll use it. I'll use like a cornea GPT I have
yeah,
to like
yeah.
help me think through a differential, you know?
Yeah, 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 exactly. I don't know if you've heard of Perplexity, but they're an AI company that like under the hood, I think they use ChatGPT and Claude, but it's basically like a Google competitor, but it's more scientific kind of background. So if you have like a research question, if you use perplexity, it is insanely good, right? So like you have a really weird case, you want to look up the differential for some weird cornea thing or something. If you perplexity has been really, it just makes research very fast, and very concise.
That's a great
Yeah,
point. That's a great point.
that's, but I mean, the custom GPT, I use a lot of Claude for programming. So like for when I'm making my ophthalmology apps, Claude is, I think, better than ChatGPT right now, but every month they get better, every month one gets better than the other.
How do you use
So
it? How do you use it for coding or programming?
it does all my coding. It does, I mean, 95% of coding for my apps are from AI, from ChatGPT or Claude. You just ask
Really?
for, oh yeah, yeah, and it does a phenomenal, phenomenal job. So like if you, I encourage you to check out if you haven't already, and I think I sent you a promo code, but please download that My Callback app, play around with it, and tell me what you think. Because I promise you, you're gonna say this is the highest quality ophthalmology app I've ever used, and 95% of it
Wow.
was, and I mean, it wasn't fast, right? It still took hundreds of hours of conversations with different AI systems and iterating and debugging. And so it wasn't like, hey, make a cool app and then it's there, right? But the heavy
But like, so
lifting,
what, like, okay, so I tell ChatGPT I want to make an app about this. Okay, it gives me
yeah,
the code. Well,
right.
what do I put that
That
code into?
that's always what the question people give me, right? Like what do I put it into? And like where does it
Yeah.
go? And so I can tell you all those things, but you don't have to ask me, right? You can ask exactly how you just asked me. You could ask ChatGPT. You could say, okay, now you gave me this code, where do I put it? And you could literally each step of the way have it tell you exactly what to do. And it could do a better job than me. Right. So I can tell
That's
you
so
how, but I really don't need to.
fascinating.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
And
And I
that's
guarantee you, if you get in med school, you can do that. I mean, you could teach a average middle school, high school kid how to make an app using these AI systems. And it previously, like this app that I swear to God, it would have took me 5 years to make a quarter
re
of this app. And now it's in, less than a year. I think I have the most robust ophthalmology app on the market by far. And
so what
the
you
only thing
do,
that stinks, huh?
are you gonna sell it or what's the plan?
It's on the App Store now. I don't sell it for much. It's like it's about $30, but there's no subscription, there's no ads, one-time fee, and you get every new update for free, and I update it constantly. And if you're in a country where, if you're in a third world country where it's like, hey, $30 is like a lot of money, then it's quite a bit cheaper, right? So the price kind of varies depending on
Mm.
um, where you're at.
How many people have used it so far?
I have, I don't have, I could pull up the exact numbers, but I at least have, I would say, 1,000 downloads so far. So it's been a hit. The hardest and the challenging thing has not been making cool stuff, because I honestly think if anyone gives it a shot and just tries it, they're gonna say, man, this is really cool. The hardest thing is just getting the word out, the business stuff, because even if you have the world's coolest app, if no one knows about it, and the thing is too, my market is small, right? It's not like Facebook or Instagram where there's a
Yeah.
billion people. It's just eye care professionals, neurologists, some ER doctors could find it useful, but occupate people checking vision, comparatively speaking, that's a small audience, right? So there's other iPhone and Android apps designed, like the biggest one is called Eye Handbook, and it has
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of tools, but
So my
aren't
attending from residency made that one, Vinay Shah.
finish out. Well,
Yeah.
it was, I think, a pioneering app, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it was
Before
like the
yours came
first.
out, it was it. But now
It was it.
yours
Well,
is
mine, in my opinion, and obviously, I would have everyone try to test them and see for themselves. As far as quality, I by an order of magnitude, have them beat, but they're free. And even if you're selling to physicians, you can't beat free, right? So, but the annoying thing with theirs is it's free, but literally every 5 seconds you're hitting an ad, right?
yes.
So
Yeah.
you're trying to test someone's vision, and it's like half the time you're saying, oh, wait 1 second, let me click skip. And I personally tried to design it for me, right? In every way, like how I want a test done, how I'd want to experience it. And that means no ads, no subscriptions, no data mining. Like I don't ask for your information. I don't send you a bunch of emails. I don't, you know what I mean? So it's just an old school, you pay for the app, you get the app. So it's not, but that does hamper adoption, right? So even if you hit someone with a million ads, if it's free, people are gonna at least download it. To me, the I handbook, what kind of, to be honest, annoyed me is so I did this Ullman indirect app to help image the retina as a resident, right? And then I got a text message on, I think it was LinkedIn, from one of the creators of the My Callback app, or of the I handbook app. It was I don't forget the guy's name, but he's a white guy. I think he's a retina specialist. I don't know, but it said something like, "Hey, let's talk." And I messaged him back like, "Yeah, sure, I'd love to collaborate or whatever." I really didn't understand what they were messaging. This was like 3 or 4 years ago, and he never responded to my response to him. And then like a month or two later, they came out with something called like the EHM indirect, which was
Mm.
my app exactly, like
Oh my God.
everything was the exact same, except it was in their app, and it didn't work very well, right? So like the
Yeah.
torch and the slide, everything didn't work very well, but it looked exactly the same. Even the name was very similar. So it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. But like 3 or 4 years later, when AI comes around, I have time to do this, then it was like, oh, so I basically have a, I guess you can say it's a competitor to that app, but honestly, it is a totally different animal, in my opinion.
Well, that's awesome, dude. Well, I gotta hop off. I got another call coming here, but dude, this was help. This was like very interesting. I'd love to connect again at some point and pick your brain about this.
Yeah,
Um,
whenever if you, I'm always excited to talk about the AI and
yeah,
technology and just how other people can make apps. I mean, I have like 20 apps on the App Store now. I'm just addicted to
that's
it.
amazing. That's amazing.
Um, but yeah, it's been great talking to you. I really hope, and I'm not just saying this, please keep it up with these podcasts because like you
Oh,
have
thanks,
something
man.
here, you know what I mean? There's something there. You have the story. I'm not just saying that. And I feel like if, to me, the only thing with these podcasts is people that don't stick with it, because
Yeah,
it probably won't be me. I'm probably too boring of a guest, but you'll probably have some really cool, thought-provoking conversation. And I could see it just like really, being just an absolute staple in the kind of, medicine podcast world, especially like you said, like with the mental health stuff being so prominent now, and people need help with this stuff. It's like they need outlets, they need people to acknowledge what they're going through, and I think you got something. I'm not
man.
just saying
Thanks a
that.
lot, dude. That means
Yeah,
a lot, dude. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate that encouragement. It's hard because sometimes I'll talk about these things and I'm like, wow, that was really hard to talk about. I don't know if anyone's really gonna be able to relate to that.
yeah.
But it helps to hear people like you who have felt something, felt
No,
something.
no,
Listen,
absolutely. I mean,
so
I feel like our generation, I have the attention span of, I have zero attention span. If I'm not like doing three things at once, I'm bored. And it's just kind of how, I'm just
yeah,
that person.
yeah.
But no, I feel like your stories and podcasts kind of kept my attention, and it was good stuff. Thanks again for letting me talk about the app. And that's the biggest struggle, honest to God, is just like, anytime you want to talk about something like this, like, hey, look at this cool thing I have, people are like, whoa, I don't even want to
Yes,
even look at it. Like, get
yes,
your
100%.
spam away from me. It's like, no, and you're like, no, this is really cool. And I don't
It
have
scares people.
I don't know, I don't have, like, the budget of, like, Tepeza, you know what I mean? To just, like, put it everywhere and be like, "Hey, guys," it's like, this is a dirt cheap I make a
Yeah,
very minimal, like, I'm
yeah,
covering my costs, like, I was able to buy my MacBook for this thing, but it's like,
yes.
yeah.
We'll connect again, and I'll send you the link to the podcast when it comes out after all the
Thanks, I'm sorry
edits.
again about the connectivity
No,
stuff,
no,
I
you're
don't
fine. All right,
anyway,
dude.
alright,
You take
have a
care.
good one. Thanks, man.
Bye.
Bye.
Connect with Dr. Shez at visionarydoc.com.